We will go ahead and call our meeting to order, the Ottawa City Commission meeting. This is April 6, 2016. We'll start with a roll call, please.
Mayor Skidmore,
Present.
Commissioner Kaler,
Present.
Commissioner Reed,
Present.
Commissioner Graves,
Present.
Commissioner Jorgensen.
Present.
We're all here. That's good news. And welcome everybody here in the gallery today. We got a full place, it looks like. And then also watching on the Government Access Channel, listening on KOFO Radio. So we will begin with our Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Scott Dickinson, the chaplain for the Sheriff's Office. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I like to collect quotes. This one says, leaders have two important characteristics. First, they're going somewhere. And second, they're able to persuade other people to go with them. And as the leaders of our community, I continually pray for you because that's where you're taking us into the future and into some good things. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for the community that we live in, the city of Ottawa, and for places that we serve, whether we work or serve in different capacities in different places. This is a great place to be, and we thank you for it. We want to take time tonight to pray for our citizens. We know that many people are suffering from fighting with different things, battling issues in their lives, and Lord, we pray for them, and we ask that you just anoint them and watch over them. We pray for our commissioners as they do the job they do, and they serve us well. We thank you for that, and Lord, I pray for them regularly as well. We thank you for our city. I've been appreciating recently getting Brother Neinstadt's little things on Facebook about what's been going on in our community. So many ways to keep up. Thank you for those things. We thank you for our fire department, police, and sheriff, and all those folks who serve us in that way. And as I see them when I came in tonight, I'm so thankful for them and the work that they do. And so, Lord, bless them as well. Thank you for this time tonight, and the business at hand tonight. Help us do it wisely. And again, we thank you for each of these commissioners and the work that they do in our city and the place that we live. Thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, we will get started with the consent agenda. We have the minutes from the March 14th special call study session for location change, which we had. March 16th special call for location change as well. March 16th special call meeting for update on Rock Creek Development Park, and the March 21st study session and March 28th study sessions. Do we have a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner,
I move to approve the consent agenda.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Move on to item number 7, which is the approval of a new member in the boards and commissions. This would be the Airport Advisory Board, Daryl Flager. And I don't know if Daryl's here tonight or not. Didn't see him come in. Okay. All right. We all know who Daryl is, and we think he would serve well in this position, so I will entertain a motion for Daryl's name to be listed.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner.
I move that we approve Daryl Flager to the Airport Advisory Board.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Let's go ahead and vote for that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and Daryl's on. Thanks. I think we'll move on to, as we got the approval for the agenda already, so public comments, anybody today?
No, sir.
None? Okay. We'll go on to item number 10, which is a declaration. At this time, I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Everybody good on that? I think we're fine. Move on to item number 11, please.
A proclamation recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month and April 8th, 2016 as Wear Blue Day.
Now, this proclamation is intended to raise awareness for children who are victims of child abuse, as well as to help prevent child abuse and neglect. And that April 8th would be tomorrow to Wear Blue Day. So, Commissioner Emily.
Or Friday.
Oh, and I'm sorry, today's Wednesday. I'm a day ahead. That daylight savings time really messed me up. Okay.
Daylight savings.
Friday would be the 8th. Emily will read the proclamation for us.
The proclamation reads as follows. whereas the city of Ottawa, Kansas prides itself on giving back to the community, contributing to the quality of life among our citizens, and whereas CASA of the 4th Judicial District and its volunteers represent the best interests of abused and neglected children who are involved in the juvenile courts. And whereas there are many children in Ottawa, Kansas who suffer from some form of abuse or neglect each year. And whereas through a national effort, members of the Ottawa community are encouraged to join together in the month of April to raise awareness for these children who are victims of abuse and neglect. And whereas specifically, April 8th, 2016 shall be recognized as Blue Day in our community, where individuals may give support to the aforementioned children by dressing in the signature color blue in recognition of Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. And whereas this effort and promoting awareness of the neglect and abuse will give abused and neglected children in our community and around the country a chance for a safe and positive future. Now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby recognize April 2016 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month and April 8th, 2016 as Wear Blue Day in the City of Ottawa, and urges all citizens to join in a national effort to raise awareness and help prevent child abuse and neglect. Signed this 6th day of April 2016 by our Mayor, Michael B. Skidmore.
And is Shelley Loika here? Yeah, there he is. Shelley. Accept this. Come on up here. We'll make it official. Go over this way. Great. You want to say a few words? Why the podium is yours.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the commission. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I know how hard that you work for our community, and I thank you very much for taking the time to recognize our most precious and vulnerable citizens in our community. And so I thank you on behalf of CASA and our volunteers, and I encourage you to wear blue on Friday in support of the children who are victims of abuse and neglect. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Shelley. Good job. Appreciate that. We'll move on to item number 12, please.
A proclamation recognizing April 2016 as Fair Housing Month.
April is National Fair Housing Month. Richard Jackson, Chief Executive Officer, East Central Kansas Economic Opportunity Corporation, will accept the proclamation, and we're going to have fellow banker Blake Jorgensen read that. We both know how important fair housing is in our business. Some communities, larger cities, at one time used to redline, and I never could figure what that was about, or to me it never made sense. We never lived in a community big enough to do that. To me, you're giving away business if you redline. It just didn't make sense to me. So both Blake and I know well about what this law means. It's a good law, and I'm glad we're recognizing that. So Blake, why don't you read that for us?
Okay. And the proclamation is entitled Celebrating 48 Years of Fair Housing and reads as follows. Whereas the Congress of the United States passed the Civil Rights Act of 1968, of which Title VIII declared that the law of the land would now guarantee the rights of equal housing opportunity. And whereas the City of Ottawa is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all. And whereas the City of Ottawa passed a fair housing ordinance in 1976 and updated the ordinance in 1997 and 2000. And whereas the fair housing groups in the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development have over the years received thousands of complaints of alleged illegal housing discrimination and found too many that have been proved upon investigation to be violations of the fair housing laws. And whereas equal housing opportunity is a condition of life in Ottawa that can and should be achieved. Now therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas does hereby proclaim the month of April 2016 as Fair Housing Month, and expresses the hope that this year's observance will promote fair housing practices throughout the city. Signed this 6th day of April 2016 by Michael B. Skidmore, the Mayor.
Good. Richard, you come on up and I'll present this to you. Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Say a few words, Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I got one question I want to ask. He always takes pictures, but I've never seen one yet.
Oh,
I don't know.
there's no film in that
Yeah,
camera.
But you do. I want to thank you for taking this opportunity to do another proclamation. It's something that we do every year, but we need to be proactive, and I think we need to remind people, if it's only once a year, that there are laws related to fair housing discrimination, both in rental and sale of property. Sometime we'll talk about the redlining another time, Mr. Mayor. But I think people need to be aware that there are certain things that you can do and things that you do that lead to discrimination. And so they need to be mindful of that. HUD has an 800 number. The Human Rights Commission for the state of Kansas has an 800 number. If people feel that they've been discriminated against and are not sure, they can call either one of those numbers and somebody will answer and tell them whether or not they've been discriminated against and help them fill out a complaint. I'm not aware of any this year and years past. We've had people call us, but that doesn't mean none is taking place in this community. But I think it does speak well of the city that we keep that on the radar, and at least once a year we remind people what the law says. Thank you.
Very well said, Richard. Thank you. Looks like we'll move on to the second page already. I told my wife I wouldn't be giving my talk until 7:30, so we'll slow it down. We've got a lot of time here to kill. Number 13, well, let's go ahead and go with that.
Request for approval of an ordinance authorizing a loan to fund a public water supply project.
This ordinance authorizes execution of loan agreement between the City of Ottawa and the State of Kansas for the purpose of obtaining a loan from the Kansas Public Water Supply Loan Fund to finance a public water supply project, establishing a dedicated source of revenue for repayment of such loan, authorizing and approving certain documents in connection therewith, and authorizing certain other actions in connection with the loan agreement. And Scott Bird will be up to tell us about this.
Good evening. As you indicated, Mayor, this ordinance does authorize a loan agreement between the city and the Kansas Department of Health. Up to $3.2 million, that is $3,262,500. It is for the purpose of financing a raw water line from the river lift station to the water plant. This project has been in the planning and consideration phase for several years because what we currently have is a single source of water from the river. It is a single point of failure. That is, if that raw water line that exists now would fail, we could be in some dire straits to get it repaired in time to adequately supply water to the community. It previously had one minor failure, and we were able to repair it before we ran into problems. But if we would have a significant failure, we would have to call crews in to help us repair that line because our crews, as proficient as they are not equipped to deal with that size of a line. As I said, this project has been considered for several years. There was actually a public hearing held on July 2nd of 2014, and then a presentation made to you, the governing body, on October 19th of 2015. On November 18th of last year, the governing body passed Resolution 1683-15 authorizing the loan application to be submitted, and that was completed by the utilities and finance staff. The terms for this loan, should it go forward, again, is $3,262,500 with an interest rate of 1.78% and service fee rate of 0.35%, which calculates to a total rate of 2.13% and a total cost of $761,186.40 over the term of 20 years. One of the advantages of going this way with a loan rather than doing a bond sale is it does save us considerable amount of money in issuance fees. Recommendation by staff is to adopt the ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Anybody have any questions of Scott on this? Blake, I know you started this talk several years ago when you were on commission. You want to back us up and talk about that?
Well, I know it's been in the works for some time, and I seem to remember, Mr. Byrd, that it's not only just a single source of water coming from the river to the water treatment plant, that source has some age on it, and so it's nearing it's getting further along in its useful life, and so this provides for an additional source as well as redundancy in the water supply.
You're correct, Commissioner Jorgensen. That was installed in 1979, 1980.
Okay. And the rate's very favorable, too. I can't beat that at 2.13%. And I think it's something, too, that we just many times tend to forget. We take good, clean water for granted. I know this is raw water, but the fact that our plant treats an extensive amount of water for us to use, and we just turn on our taps and don't think twice about it. Many countries in this world can't do that, and so we're very appreciative, and we know we shouldn't take it for granted, but there's just one more step in that process of providing water for our community.
Absolutely.
Any other questions of Scott?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner.
I would move that we approve this ordinance which authorizes the loan to fund a public water supply project.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion on this? Let's have a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
I vote yes, too. Motion carries.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Scott. Good job. On to item number 14.
An ordinance vacating all but the north 140 feet of the utility easement between the 100 blocks of North Cedar Street and North Oak Street.
An ordinance vacating a portion of the north-south utility easement east of North Cedar Street and north of East First Street. Wow, how's that? Block 48. And Wendy will tell us about this.
Good evening, Commissioners. The Ottawa Co-op would like to build a building, and in the midst of their building project, they discovered that to do what they really would like to do, they would need to have a utility line relocated. And so they began a conversation with the Utilities Director, Tharp, and as we began to look at it, we realized that the alley, which that lines up with an alley, just in case anybody's curious, lines up with the alley between Cedar and Oak. That alley had been vacated some years back, but the area was retained as an easement so that that utility line could remain. The only utility in it, however, was the electric line. So the relocation of that is what they agreed to do in order to facilitate their building project. However, then we still had to call a public hearing. We had to notify all the other utilities as well as our own to make sure there wasn't any other lines in there. The Planning Commission held that hearing. There were no comments or objections to vacating the easement. It's not the entire way, as you read. The north part of that, the electric service will continue to reside in that area that was previously just a utility easement. But the southern, the bulk of it will be vacated if you so take that action tonight. The statutes require that we give notice, that we make sure there's no private rights that are endangered. The property owner on both sides in this case is the co-op. So there's nobody else really to factor in from that perspective, and that the public won't suffer any loss or convenience. That would be a bigger conversation if we were back talking about an alley or a street that people were actually utilizing, but no one is, other than, again, co-op or their users. And so staff and the Planning Commission recommend to you that this be adopted. The condition the Planning Commission placed on it relates to the fact that the co-op continue its agreement with the Utility Department to negotiate on how that line will be relocated, the timing of that, and the payment for that. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I'm sorry, you said the cost, the cost and the payment that was going to be dealt with, how?
Yeah, the cost has already been negotiated, the agreement has been vetted with the co-op and the city attorney. The amount is some number over $18,000. I don't have that with me immediately, and I can get it into the life.
No, that's fine.
The crux of that is the co-op will pay for that line.
It's the cost of the relocation.
Okay.
Does that line just service the co-op, or does it service other customers on down?
the parts being relocated is just servicing the co-op. The area that retains that we did not vacate, that services other property, other customers. So they're relocating around. The service won't be disrupted to anyone.
Okay, so we don't need to have an easement on the line where it's being moved to?
It's all going into the right-of-way
Okay.
areas.
Okay.
Actually, if you look down First Street, you'll see new poles that are standing there along the Flint Hills Trail.
Right.
That is the path that that line will be taking to connect back into that circuit and get around that property.
Okay.
Good. Okay, any other questions anybody have for Wendy?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. I entertain a motion for this item number 15.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sorry,
I move
14. I'm sorry, 14.
I move that we pass the ordinance vacating the property listed in number 14 of our agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Any other discussion on this? If not, we'll take a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Graves,
Yes.
Commissioner Jorgensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler,
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
I vote yes too. Motion carries. Thanks, everyone, for your involvement in that. Item number 15.
Request for approval of bid to remodel an existing building at the wastewater treatment plant.
This remodel will address the need for additional office and meeting space, as well as make the utility group more centralized. And Dennis, I guess you're up.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I'm going to make this PowerPoint try to work because it didn't on Monday. We didn't get that figured out for you. So, imagine that. So, it's been 6 or 8 months ago, the city manager approached me talking about the need for office space in City Hall. We have a number of opportunities that the city is moving forward with. It takes more people to take care of those opportunities. Many of those are saving our citizens money simply because we're able to do things in-house that we haven't always been able to do. But we need a place for everybody. So we began looking. We've done a number of iterations. You all are aware of spaces that we have around the city. We've looked at additions to those spaces. We've looked at a number of things to make something work, to create some space without spending a lot of money. We landed on a building, an existing building at the water reclamation facility. It's a 1983 building, about 1,800 square feet of unused space, basically. The building structurally is in good shape. We had originally thought we would use it for some storage and that type of thing. We weren't going to tear it down anyway, so we'd put a new roof on it. It's got a brand new 20-year roof on it. It's always been our city manager's contention that we should spend time out amongst the troops, and we've tried to do that. We've tried to spend more time out among the troops than we do in the office if we can get away with it. This move, I think, facilitates that idea. It gets us out and about even more than we are now, probably. As we moved on through this process, we went through an RFP process to look at some configurations and then what it would amount to rehab this building and turn it into office spaces. And as you can see, it's pretty well gutted at this point in time, and really it's somebody just coming in and fixing it, making it inhabitable at that point in time. As far as condition, the building is in overall pretty good condition. This is the old bay that we hope to turn into a conference room with your approval, and this is the layout that we're looking at to do this configuration. Not only are we looking at 3 office spaces, which provides room for my 2 assistants and basically the utility administration, and then it opens some space in City Hall for some other people to move around to deal with some issues that may exist. We went through the RFP process, the design and RFP process. The numbers at that point in time, we went to the finance director and we started looking at some numbers, looking at places where possibly we would have a little bit of funds that we could pull out of budget. This number looks pretty big, but if when Scott has his way, we won't spend anyways near that. But it does allow us to do a couple of things that we're thinking about within our budgets. The goal at that point in time was to go and finish up the RFP process. We came up with some numbers. We got bids from 3 contractors. The low bid on that was a little over $101,000. We figure at the end of the day, by the time we look at furnishings and those types of things, that probably $120,000 number is probably a little more reasonable number to get everything in the building at that point in time. It kind of probably depends on how much scavenging we can do. We've already kind of started in that process of anybody who's got extra office stuff, we're seeing what it amounts to at that point in time. So at that point, it would be our hope that you all consider this and would be willing to let us move forward with this project. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, anybody have any questions of Dennis?
Dennis, I don't know that this is necessarily, I think that our city manager can certainly cover this question, but because we are making or allowing capacity to happen if we move forward with this so that you'll have office space out and among your other employees, doesn't mean we're hiring more people here. We're not making more office space so that we can hire additional individuals. We're just making office space so that we can reallocate our employees where they need to be and where they can best use their services.
For a long time, you want this?
No, go ahead.
For a long time, we've had some concerns about privacy with our HR assistant. Michelle's assistant at this point in time, the director's assistant, sits kind of out in the center of the lobby, so to speak. Now, people come in with questions that are of a personal nature. It would be nice for that person to have some privacy at that point in time. And by doing this, we believe that person can move back into an office space and be able to use that. The IT department, which is a growing department, added a person recently. That person right now is in a kind of a makeshift cubicle. You know, all of our people, in order to be effective in their work, should have some kind of reasonable office space to work out of, and I think that's the goal at this point.
Is it fair to say that this new space, and really the whole space in City Hall, is the public space? And so if they wanted to see it, they could certainly come up and look at any space that we have.
Yeah, we always want to bear in mind that our plants, because of the way the world is today, is our plants are secured. But that is as simple as a phone call to City Hall to me or to a plant superintendent, you know, to set up a time to meet, and we're more than happy to do so.
I also noticed in your new your proposal that you're looking at a conference space. And can you tell me where you're currently holding those meetings that you would hold in that conference space?
Wherever we can get first. You know, typically we have a lot of things just with the utility department that take place. So without talking about the meetings that everybody else has, you know, we hold superintendent meetings every Thursday, typically down here in the study session room. These 2 rooms down here, again, are open to the public and very often occupied by groups. We have a large and a small conference room upstairs. Sometimes we can get in those, sometimes we can't. I believe what this does at that point, it facilitates to where we have a space that's kind of dedicated to the utility department. We do meetings on an ongoing basis, whether it be with contractors or or vendors, or specific organizations, KMU, Kansas Municipal Utilities, KMEA, those kinds of groups. We've always got something going on. I wish I could tell you there'd been a day in the last 8 months that I hadn't had at least one meeting in that day, but it's kind of the way of the world. And by having that space, not only does it help us, but it helps our employees. Our superintendents have another place with not all of our groups in their break rooms and the spaces that they have to utilize have the availability of some of the technology that we have otherwise. So if we can set this room up, our superintendents can bring their groups in, utilize the advantages of some of the technology that's available, and do some good things with that, I believe.
Now, Dennis, on this, there are 3 offices. Who would be in these 3 offices if we approve
Those
this?
3 offices at this point in time would be myself, would be David Bueller, and Jeff Olson.
And they currently I know you office upstairs. Where do they office currently?
They do too. They office upstairs.
Right
Yes,
now.
Jeff is right next to me, and then David is in the next hall over.
Okay. So those are so you'd keep your office upstairs also, in my understanding, or you?
According to what the city manager is telling me at this point in time, I have no choice but to do that, yes.
Okay, so there'd be 2 vacancies upstairs is what we're
There would be
looking
2 vacancies for sure upstairs,
at.
yes.
Okay.
Mr. Tharp, you may have already addressed this, and if you did, I certainly apologize for having you to say it again, but what is the savings for us for not having to actually build a building, the estimated savings? I mean, we're not building a brand new building, we're repurposing
Absolutely.
a building.
Yes, and we went out and we took a hard look at that, and that was one of the reasons we landed where we did, because to utilize even a wall of an existing building, to finish the structure and come up with 1,800 square feet, most everything that we looked at was somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 for that many square feet to start from scratch. So by having an existing building that we can rehab, I would say that we're saving someplace in the neighborhood of $100,000 by rehabbing this building.
I guess in myself, I'm trying to, I know we have needs and wants. I'm trying to decide where this fits in that spectrum, and I don't know which end it fits on. I'm still trying to decide myself if it's a good idea or not right now, but I don't know. Can you address that, needs and wants, Dennis? How do you think, and where does it fit? And I guess
I believe that we're a growing organization. I believe that we will continue to grow as people develop skills, as more and more things become available that we want to try to provide for our citizens. I do not see us becoming a smaller organization. I believe as we move forward, that what we're talking about here will never be less expensive than what it is today, and that to do what we do is really a need. As I kind of mentioned before, I believe for people to function effectively, to do their best in their job, they need reasonable workspace, they need reasonable privacy, they need reasonable room to invite people in and have them feel comfortable. And I believe we're pushing the limits of what this building will do, especially upstairs, and quite honestly maybe beginning to a little bit downstairs, for those kinds of things to be possible.
okay.
Mr. Thorpe, just a question. I think we may have not hit this point directly, but the cost for this remodel is going to be borne on this year's budget, a single year's budget.
Yes, it will.
Instead of having debt payments moving into the future.
There will be absolutely no long-term debt with this. Mr. Byrd and my team have talked extensively about how we can do this and how we can make this work. The other thing I would say to that end is it makes it the perfect year to do this, because that's not always the case. There's not always going to be a situation where we can go to that budget and we can pick monies out like that would make this happen.
I would also tell you, Commissioners, that Utility Director Thorpe did not come to this lightly. There's been a lot of time spent on this and he was exactly right. For the time I've been here, Blake has heard this and Linda has heard this. I feel that our management people ought to be out there with the troops. So this is really kind of a first phase to get that, because we still have issues with a parks building that's not very functional, not very accessible to the public and public works, and they are taking a look at how to do that in the future. And I would also tell you that we've done some remodeling in the cemetery, and we'll make a trip out there. That we've worked with the personnel out there, and people have put some money into that, fixed that up, so that in one of the most terrible times of one's life, that they are in a place that at least helps calm and relax them. So.
Yeah, and I believe presentation is a big piece of the game. When we have people come in to meet with us, you know, for them to understand and get that first impression that we are impressionable, or that we are professional, and that we are here to accomplish a goal, I believe is important.
Okay. Well, anybody have any more questions? Well, if there, to entertain a motion if there's one.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner.
I move that we approve the bid to remodel the existing building at the wastewater treatment plant as presented by Dennis there.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? I have to admit, I'm not sure how I'm going to vote, but when you call my name, I'll be ready, so.
Do you want me to go slow?
Slow, yeah. Yeah, slow, real slow. Go right ahead.
How do you vote, Commissioner Jorgensen?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Graves?
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
And I think I will vote no. I just couldn't wrap my brain around this one. But thank you, Dennis, and no disrespect, but
Thank you all.
disagree. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
all
your
very much.
presentation. Did a good job. I guess next up would be my comments, and just briefly, just to say how much I have enjoyed serving as mayor. I tell you what, this job, I have a greater respect for the past mayors as well as those coming. This job does take a lot of time and effort, and it does demand a lot on a person. I don't think I ever realized that until I've been in it. And those of you in the audience and up here on this bench have been mayor before, you know what I'm talking about. Demanding but rewarding. I really enjoyed it. So I got to say, it was very, very beneficial, very rewarding myself, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know we've been through kind of a challenging year. We had 2 resignations. So we had Sean Dickinson and Sharon Geis that resigned. I don't know if it's ever happened before. We've had 2 commissioners resign in one year. I appreciate their service. I also appreciate Linda and Sarah and helping us transition into getting 2 new commissioners, or 1 new commissioner, I should say, right on Emily, and glad to have Blake back. Just watching some basketball recently made me realize how important 5 people are when they're on the court and they're working together in concert with one another. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and to bring eventual success. And I look at that same way up here with 5 of us. I don't think you want us playing basketball, but we can certainly govern the city pretty well. And I really appreciate the different talents and strengths that we all share, and we work together to make the city a great place. We're all here to make Ottawa great, right? To quote other people that we say about making their country great, right? But I really do think it's been a good, I've really enjoyed it. I think this year it's been interesting. There's a lot of background work, preliminary work that we've done that maybe things haven't come to completion or fruition that will this next year. I'm confident we'll have some ribbon cutting, some groundbreaking ceremonies this coming year. And we didn't get a lot of those done this year, but I think that's all right. Things take time, and I've learned more and more that all the background work that our city people do to make these things happen, they just don't happen by accident, they happen by design. And I think about all the different department heads in our city, all of our employees, our dedicated employees, and our city manager, and just the work involved in this to make the city run efficiently. And I appreciate that. It really makes a difference. I don't think people realize that until you're sitting up here. We're working with the city directly to see how well this place runs. And so I really appreciate all the work the department heads and our city manager does to make that happen. So thank you all for that. We're looking forward to this next year. I know with lots going on. I think there'll be some big announcements to be made this next year. I don't have anything confirmed, but I just feel it in my bones there's something big coming up. So I'm looking forward very much to this next year coming. And that is about all I really had. So thank you all for your vote of confidence, and we'll see if we can continue on with this. If you decide to hire me at the next election, that you never know, but I maybe decide to run again for this position up here as well. But thank you all for your support. And I want to especially thank my wife that's in the back room. I know this job can be very demanding and it takes a lot of time away from home. Even when I'm home, sometimes I'm not there, if you know what I mean, and I should be, and I apologize for that. But honey, thank you for all your support, and you know, the spouses of the commissioners, or some in this room right now, you know what that's like too, and you're involved in it as well. And we just want to thank you all too, not to be forgotten. So appreciate that as well. We'll go on to item number 17, I guess.
City Commission reorganization, nominations for mayor for the 2016-2017 term.
Do we have a motion for mayor for this next coming year?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner.
I would move to nominate Commissioner Sarah Kaler as mayor for the 2016-17 term.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Congratulations.
Awesome, thank you.
Let's give Sarah a hand. Say a few words. Oh, I guess we got the oath next. Right. I'm sorry.
I have to become mayor first.
Okay, Assistant City Clerk Haley Luke will administer the oath.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Sarah Kaler,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of mayor of the City of Ottawa, Kansas.
and faithfully discharge the duties of mayor of the City of Ottawa, Kansas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Give her another hand.
It's always different when you take a new chair, right?
Is it warm?
Yeah, well, you've done a good job. Thank you so much. I do want to start my comments by thanking really my neighbor. Somebody today had noted that Mayor Skidmore and I had come from really the same neighborhood. We grew up just really a block apart from each other, and how great stuff must have really happened in 5th and 6th Street. And so good things and good leaders were born on those streets. So I appreciate your time, Mayor Skidmore. I appreciate your service to the City of Ottawa. And really, as a token of your time as mayor, I do present you with the gavel now. If your granddaughter takes it off when she's here this summer, that's really up to you. But we really appreciate your time and your service. I know that I'm not alone in feeling full of appreciation tonight. So thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
And we're going to send it to Richard.
That's right. One more. No film.
That's
Okay,
right.
thank you.
So I want to go on by just making a couple comments. Today I was actually at a meeting in Kansas City with Casey Smartport, and we were talking about technology. And I remember when I joined the commission 6 years ago that one of my main goals was to have the commission all be technologically savvy. And I'm so proud to report tonight is the very first night that every single commissioner is using their device for their agenda.
His is on.
Yeah, it's on. It's on, but he knows how to do it, and I'm really proud of him. Technology has really changed the way we look at the world. Technology allows us to gather data, and we have done a really great job, I think, in the last several years of gathering data so that we can make better decisions as commissioners. But technology also allows the citizens of Ottawa, I think about in my particular job with the Girl Scouts, it allows me, not necessarily do I do this, but it allows Ottawans to interact with people in London, in Dubai, in Linden, Kansas. I mean, all over the world without ever leaving our city limits. And technology allows us to order a widget tonight and have that widget arrive at our doorstep in the morning. So when my mother, who's in the audience tonight, was a child, her father actually moved their family from Emporia to Ottawa so that he could become the manager of the H.D. Lee plant. And they had to live here. They had to move here because the employment was here. And they called this place home. And I appreciate that today. So I always wonder about, okay, now that's not necessarily the case. We don't have to live where we work today. And so why does a person call the city of Ottawa home? Why do they choose to call the city of Ottawa home? And I kept on going back to, when I was writing this, it's quality of life, quality of life, quality of life. We have the ability to leave our cars unlocked. I know Chief Butler would not advise us to do it, but we have the ability. They're shaking their heads. You should see it. At night, I have done it. In front of your house, you have the ability as a child or as a parent or as a grandparent to have your child be a part of the lacrosse team, the science club, Girl Scouts, and then your kids even have time to actually ride their bikes with their friends at night in the neighborhood and still be safe. We have the availability of clean water here, we have fair-priced utilities, and we have well-maintained streets. That's why people continue to choose to call Ottawa home. It's a choice that they make. And I believe that all of us here don't take it lightly that we are sitting behind this desk. We represent you. We represent your voice. We are your voice. And so I would empower you to actually talk to all of us. We want to hear what you want in your community. This is your community. We are simply sitting up here trying to make sound policy so that this community that you love will continue and prosper. I think we have a great history, and we have a great future in front of us. So moving ahead, I would like to open up for nominations for Mayor Pro Tem for the 2016-2017 term.
Madam Mayor,
Commissioner.
I would like to nominate Linda Reed as Mayor Pro Tem for the next term.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second for Linda Reed to be Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Linda Reed,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of
and
Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Ottawa, Kansas.
and faithfully discharge the duties as the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Ottawa, Kansas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Would you like to speak?
Yeah, I'll just say a comment or two. We have had an unusual situation where we've had two appointed city commissioners, instead of the typical 5, so we have three elected and then 2 appointed. And also, as our state legislature has changed the way elections are going to be, that has even changed our timeline. So it made things a little bit different in the way we round things up for this year. But I just want to say that I'm very committed to supporting our mayor in anything she needs help with, as well as just being a servant to the rest of the city commissioners for this year and for our citizens. And thank you for that opportunity.
Great, thank you. Congratulations again. I think that will move us on to our report by city manager.
Well, Commissioners, I just want to say thank you for the service that you give this community. I know the time that you put in I know the issues you are passionate about. I know that you go out of your way to listen to our constituents, and I want to say thank you. Congratulations, Mayor. Congratulations, Mayor Pro Tem and past Mayor. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for your service. And that's it.
We'd like to move on to reports by city commissioners. I'm going to start to my right. Emily?
I don't have anything.
Mayor Skidmore.
Nothing more to add either.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I also have nothing.
I might just,
Commissioner Jorgensen.
Mayor, I might just say thank you again for this opportunity to serve on the city commission again. This is my first full meeting that I've serving at. I am the new kid on the block again, and but I know the ropes, I guess, or I think I know them, and I'm looking forward to serving the community again. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That would move on to report by mayor, and I do want to, again, issue a thank you to Commissioner Jorgensen for stepping forward and for filling that spot. We're certainly glad to have you back. I do want to thank Mike for his service, and to think about, I know that you were talking about basketball, and I'm sure you were probably talking about a particular university that you don't like to talk about very often. And that's okay. That's okay. I have a cold on you. We have a running joke in the city commission because I'm outnumbered KU fans versus K-State fans, so just call it out there. And I'm sure you were talking about KU, so thank you. Yeah, appreciate that. I also want to thank my husband and my children, my parents who are in the audience, and I didn't say this earlier, but really it's a service that they do in a servant attitude. So thank you for giving up your time. My children are saying thank you back. We move on our agenda to a really important milestone that we don't often get to actually recognize here in our community. And I am proud to now move us on to the oath of office for our new fire chief, Tim Mathias.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Tim Mathias,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and faithfully discharge the duties of fire chief
and faithfully discharge the duties of fire chief
of the City of Ottawa, Kansas.
of the City of Ottawa, Kansas.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Well, good evening, everyone. Madam Mayor, congratulations. Commissioner Skidmore, thank you for bringing a sense of ease to the commission. Sometimes you have nice jokes, and it really sets the mood. So I do appreciate it. And I'm right with you on the computer issue. I've learned I do have mine turned on, and so. But I also want to comment. I lived over on 800 block of West 6th for 3 or 4 years when I came to town. So
there's something about
there's
it.
something over there,
Yeah.
that is really good. So, no, I'm truly honored and privileged to stand before you as the new fire chief for the city of Ottawa, Kansas. It's been I've been doing this for 26 years, and in 1990, October of 1990, I sat across from at that time Chief Richard Tao. And he asked me a few things in my interview, and he asked me, personal goals in life and professional goals. And without hesitation, I snapped back at him and said, I want to be sitting in your seat. And that's come true. So, it's not about me. It's about the men and woman. We do have one woman on our fire department. It's about them, and I'm here. I'm in the face, I'm in the cameras most of the time, but truly those are the folks that are behind the scene day in, day out, all night long, that are protecting the citizens of Ottawa. And we do go out in the county on occasion. So I truly work for them. I tried to think the other day, when I was appointed assistant chief, there was 74 people that I had to make sure that my people got home to. That's grown, and I think it's around 78. So counting our employees and all their families, there's 78 people that I have to make sure that they get their loved ones home at the end of their shift. So that's my goal, is to get my folks home after the end of the shift, no matter what it takes. I appreciate the commission's time and effort to listen to our concerns at the fire department. Mr. Neinstead for allowing us to voice our concerns and our goals, and provide Mr. Burr to help provide the money for what we want to do, and continue to strive forward and make the fire department even better. Chief Garner left it in a really good condition. He's made my job easier, but we can always improve, and I tend to take us into the future. One thing that I want to start, and this is something new, I think. Well, it's been 17 years since we've had a new chief, so some of us remember that, some of us don't. But you will see me a lot more in front of you. I want to start a pinning tradition. So any new employee, fire employee, or any fire promotion will stand before you, and we'll have a pinning ceremony. I think it's very important for not only commission, but the citizens of Ottawa to see their firefighters, their emergency personnel up face to face, because the last time we want them to see them is when there's something wrong. You know, shame on us if that's the first time they see us. We need to be out there in the public and be engaged in the public. You'll see us out there more often in public events, Relay for Life. We're part of this community, and we'll be more visible. That's one of my goals. So I didn't get here by myself. I had my parents. My parents drove down for 2 hours to come see. I'm a twin. I'm a young. There's 5 kids, and my brother Todd and I are the youngest. So my folks came down from Horton, Kansas, to see one of their youngest get sworn in. So I'd like to introduce my mom and dad.
Yes.
Larry Matthias.
Oh, stand up.
And Etta Mae Matthias. Can you guys stand up?
We want to see them.
They've had a few surgeries through the years. So I'm very proud to have them here, and you know, I can't speak for them, but I know they're proud of me, and I'm standing here because of them. They gave me the work ethic. We owned and operated a dairy farm for many years, and so you're not a lazy person if you own a dairy farm. So that's where I got my qualities from, and I truly appreciate what they've given me through the years. My wife Janet, and some of you might know Janet. She worked out at the ER for years at the hospital, and then my daughter Emily. Tomorrow's her birthday, and then my son Eli. So that's pretty much, and I can't go without saying, you know, the guys in the blue back there, the light blue, you know, they're the spine of the department. I just steer the ship, and they're the motor. So middle of the night, you hear sirens going down the street, just remember somebody's behind that steering wheel, either fire, police, EMS, sheriff's office. They're going to serve the public, and you know, just remember that somebody's out there 24/7 protecting the values we have come to trust, and sometimes we take for granted. So just please remember that. Real quick, I want to tell you, firefighters work a 24-hour shift, and it's kind of a complicated shift, but on average, each firefighter works 115 24-hour shifts a year. So try to imagine being away from your family. A lot of us have 8 to 5 jobs, but try to be away from your family 24 hours a day, 115 times each year. So also remember that. We have a second family. We call it our second family, and as one of my other goals is to do more family things down at the fire department. And I just really want it to be a place where people can come and enjoy each other's company. We still do our job, don't get me wrong, but we have to have a relaxed time and unwind. So with that all said, I really appreciate all the staff and everyone, commission, for trusting me. It's not a small feat. You know, we are protecting the lives of 12,000 people and $18 million of property. So I do not take it lightly, and neither does my men and women on the fire department. So with that, I'm done. Now, what normally happens is in the pinning, it's very seldom that the chief gets pinned, but I wanted my wife and kids to come up. Now I have to take off my jacket because my kids can't get the pins through the collar on the jacket.
That's understandable.
And I want them to be involved in the process.
Good.
Good job.
Chief. But because this is our very first
Yes.
pinning that at least I can remember, 17 years ago I wasn't. Yeah. So, but could you explain a little bit about the history of that and then how the process actually moves forward so that the public knows
Sure.
what we have to look forward to with this pinning and with future pinnings?
Sure. You know, and I knew somebody would ask that, and thank you for asking. I did do my research. You know, there isn't a sure date when this started, but it truly started with the military and the pinning of medals and awards and stuff. And so the fire department in a whole, you know, fire service is paramilitary. They're real paramilitary, so they take a lot of things from the military, and this is one of them. And so it's just an opportunity for the family to be involved. You know, it's a proud moment for not just me, but my family. And then the young men and women that will stand up here before you from now on, it's a proud moment for them. And I want them to be able to portray it out to the citizens and for the citizens to know a name with a face. So that's what we're going to start.
Perfect.
So what normally happens is they'll come up and pin me, my badge, but they normally don't do the collar brass, but with my 2 children, I thought I wanted to get them involved, and so each one of them are going to do one of my collar brass on each side, and they're terrified. So please bear with them. So.
Do you want to come up here, Chief, where there's more room? Why don't you come up this way so we can get you? Yeah, we want to make sure the whole public can see it. Yes. Get in there, guys. Get in there.
Okay.
Should get Janet in there too.
Yeah, we will.
Wait a minute, Janet's alive.
Oh, Chuck. Chuck.
Not doing my job. Here we go. Good, thank
You get the whole family in there?
you. Oh,
I know.
That's right. It's a proud moment.
you can get it.
I'd like to say thank you for allowing me to do that. I know it took a little bit longer than what we thought, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Chief, there is always time to celebrate in our employees, always time to celebrate. You are servants to our community, so thank you for your service.
Well, you're welcome, and I agree. We need to honor them more, so thank you.
Well, what a great ceremony, what a great way to start this new year for the City of Ottawa. We have the following announcements. On April 11th, we have a study session, which everybody in the community is always invited to at 4 p.m. It's a Monday afternoon. On not only the 11th, but also on the 18th. We have our regular meeting on the 20th of April at 9:30. Then we have the Leadership Summit and Mayor's Conference in Junction City on the 22nd and 23rd of April. With all of that said, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn and invite everyone to our reception in the back afterwards.
Absolutely, good.
Second it.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed, same sign. All right, we're adjourned.
Did you happen to see that today that Rhonda Sykes had something up about